What's up guys? So we've really loved our 2019 Mazda CX5 over the past 3 years, but lately we've been looking to upgrade to a 3-row SUV or minivan, so we've been testing out various vehicles, and today we're here to review the 2022 Ford Explorer XLT that we've been testing for the past week. So in this video, I'll talk about the things I like and dislike about the Explorer, with a focus on interior space for families. So if you're interested, let's get right into it. First, let's talk about car seats, passenger space, and comfort. To do so, I'll share with you our travel story for the past week, which you might be able to relate to. So we have 2 daughters. Our oldest, at almost 3 years old, is in our rear-facing Nuna Rava, and our younger, at 3 months old, is in our Chico Keyfit 30 infant car seat. And we're also traveling this week with our in-laws, and our initial plan was to have them sit back in the 3rd row, our kids sit here in the 2nd row. And initially that was all looking good. I tested out the car seats in the 2nd row, and you can see we have a lot of space for both, or enough space for both car seats. These front seats are positioned for me at about 5'10", and the middle row is not all the way back to give the 3rd row enough leg room. So space in the 2nd row and leg row in the 3rd room, no concern. But my plan was foiled once I actually got back there to try out the 3rd row. So let's get back there and see. First of all, this bench is really hard. It's like sitting on a wood bench with a little bit of cushioning. And I think the worst part is how low the seat bottom is compared to the high floor. Look at my legs here at 5'10", even for smaller adults. I mean, there's just no way this is going to be comfortable for a road trip. So as a compromise, I felt like I really needed to get at least one car seat into the 3rd row. That way, at least I don't have one of my in-laws pissed at me for this uncomfortable bench seat in the back. So we went to try to get our Nuna Rava into the back seat. That way my 3-year-old can crawl back here herself. But unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. I have right here the Rava in the most upright position. You can see there's just not quite enough room for the 2nd row seat with any reasonable amount of foot room for the 2nd row occupant. Now I will say, this Nuna Rava, we do have the leg extender out, and we do need that for my daughter who's almost 3. But if you have a smaller toddler, this leg extension can fold in, and that saves you about 1 inch of room. So I think that might be able to work rear facing in the 3rd row of the Explorer. But with that leg extension out, we could not fit the Nuna Rava rear facing in the 3rd row of the Explorer. So the option we ended up needing to choose is have our convertible car seat front facing. And this way, as expected, there's lots of room for my daughter and enough room for an adult to get in and out. Next, let's talk about cargo space. And I think this is a major plus of the Explorer. So let's look first at the cargo space with the 3rd row down. Now I'm not putting this side down because I don't want to uninstall a car seat. And this isn't really a recommended configuration to put cargo right next to your precious cargo on the side. This is just for a demonstration. Now, with the 3rd row down, obviously we have a lot of space as expected. For I think any 3-row SUV, you're going to have a lot of space for your stroller, for your luggage, with the 3rd row down. But what I really want to talk about is space with the 3rd row up. And this is where a lot of 3-row SUVs, especially smaller ones, are really going to struggle with how much space you have back here. So the Explorer is among the larger sized of 3-row SUVs in the class. You can see in the middle here we have almost 21 inches. And over here on the side, still about over 18 inches. Now the real test for us this past week is, can we fit this double stroller, it's the Chico Bravo for 2, and all the luggage we need for a 3 or 4 day trip in the Explorer with the 3rd row up. And I was very happy to say that we were able to do this, and here's how. A really nice thing about the Explorer, we have this space beneath the floor, and this is easily removable. And with that, we can fit our double stroller in upright like this, and still have space here for one carry-on size suitcase, and then still space on the sides here. There's a little bit more under these compartments for a bunch of little bags and stuff. Now, we did have to fit one more carry-on suitcase in the passenger compartment, so it was a little tight, but we were able to make this work, and I don't know how many competitors could fit this much behind the third row. Now, moving on to the drive. So I wasn't planning to talk much about performance of a three-row SUV, as I don't think most in the segment really care, including myself. But there's one area I wasn't expecting with the Explorer that I thought was a bit of a letdown. So our Explorer XLT is powered by a 300 horsepower turbo 4-cylinder. This should be more than enough power for a large SUV, and when I floor it, I definitely agree. The reported 0 to 60 times are under 7 seconds. That should definitely be good enough to haul your kids around to soccer practice. But in everyday driving, the throttle response really left something to be desired. Now, you might think this is a side effect of turbo lag from the 4-cylinder turbo, but I don't think this is the biggest factor. The 10-speed transmission in the Explorer is constantly cruising, barely above idle, which should be great for fuel mileage, and I think it would be fine for performance if it could downshift smoothly with just a little bit of throttle input. Now, I don't know if this is a simple programming change that Ford could just do, or perhaps they had to do this due to reliability issues with the transmission, or it just being too jerky. I don't know, but this was significant enough for me to mention. It hurt the driving experience for me. That segues us to fuel economy. So does this lack of throttle response pay us back at the pump? On paper it does, as the 44-pound Explorer with a 2.3-liter Turbo 4 should deliver 20 city, 27 highway, 23 combined. So that's not much less than our 2019 Mazda CX5 that gets 23 to 25 real-world MPG. And considering how much of a bigger vehicle the Explorer is, and that the Explorer actually accelerates faster than the CX5, I'd say this is a real win for Ford. Now, in terms of real-world fuel economy, I can say over 250 miles of mostly highway driving, we got a pretty amazing 28.5 mpg, remarkable for a non-hybrid SUV of this size. Really good. Now, I will say in our first fill-up of mixed driving, we only got 19.5 mpg. Now, I think this is most likely a mistake and due to our Turo host not fully filling up the tank when we picked up the Explorer. Now, unfortunately, I have a few more complaints about the driving experience. The first is forward visibility. The Explorer has a very long, high hood, and it makes low-speed maneuvering in parking lots a little difficult to get used to. I kind of looked like a fool all week parking the Explorer crooked. Usually I'm not this bad, but if our Explorer did come with the 360-degree cam or front parking sensors, I think this would help a lot, but it's not standard on the XLT trim. Back to something I like, the ride comfort with the 18-inch wheels on the XLT I thought was pretty good. I heard some reviewers complain about a stiff, uncomfortable ride, particularly with the higher-end, larger wheels, but with the XLT on 18-inch wheels, we felt the ride was really pretty good. There's also a few features I think really provide a lot of value in our Explorer XLT. So the seats overall are really comfortable, more comfortable than our CX5, and as tested at 43,000 MSRP, our XLT came with power seats on both the driver and passenger side and power lumbar support, which is a really nice touch. And finally, the heated steering wheel is a really nice touch, usually reserved for the higher trim levels, but really nice if you park outside like we do. Now let's talk about infotainment and technology. The big note here is that the Explorer in 2022 and 2023 does not come with the Ford Sync 3 system, which debuted back in 2020 and is now available in many other Ford models, but instead all Explorers still come with the older Sync 3 system. So this is going to be behind a lot of other competitors. For example, the Chrysler Pacifica we drove last month, 2021, had the Uconnect 4 system, which was way nicer than this. The 2023 Kia Telluride we test drove, way nicer than this. That said, overall, this is functional, it's responsive, it's intuitive to use, and it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but not the wireless version. Finally, in terms of driver assistance, the rear parking sensors are a big plus to have on the relatively affordable XLT trim, and the Explorer also has most of what you would expect in a 2022 model, like blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise control to a stop, and emergency braking, and lane keep assist. But note the XLT is not standard with lane centering technology, while some of the higher trims do include this. So that's what I like and dislike after driving this Explorer for 500 miles over the past week. Overall, I give the Explorer a 3 out of 5 on the Ford Noob scale, with a 1 being there's no way I would buy it, and a 5 being I'd rush out to buy it tomorrow. Overall, the Explorer was about what I expected, and I think it offers quite a lot of value in the XLT trim with the MSRP of just about $43,000. But there wasn't really anything that made me that excited about it, and I think the one single thing that really made me downgrade the Explorer is that cramped third row seat. So I'm definitely looking to review more vans and 3-row SUVs as we search for our next vehicle. So if you're interested, subscribe, and I'll see you in our next video.